Great. Good morning. The maiden who lived with the wolves. This is a Lakota legend. The early Lakota frequently moved their camp on their way to their summer hunting grounds. It took many months to travel to get from their winter camp to their summer camp. Most of the food that was taken with them was eaten only when they could not get fresh meat or edible plants on their journey. If they found food that was abundant, they would gather more to add to their supply. During one of their stops, a young maiden decided to wander farther off to gather food. She became lost and could not find her way back to camp. After a few days, she finally found camp, but by then, her people had left, and she was left to survive on her own. She felt very anxious at the thought of having to live on her own without her people, so she sat down to calm herself and form a plan. It was then that a wolf came by and sensed her anxiety. The wolf came close to her and tried to be friendly. After overcoming her nervousness and fear, she followed the wolf to a butte where the wolf lived with its pack in a den. The wolf welcomed her. It was there that she found a new home with the wolves. She learned the ways of the wolves, and they too learned to understand her as well. They hunted for her and gave her a home through the long winter months. When spring came, she looked down from the butte and saw a band of people setting up camp. She asked the wolves to scout around the camp to see whether they were her people or not. The wolves did so. And when they returned, they brought back her news that indeed they were her people. With gratitude in her heart, she thanked the wolves for helping to take care of her and told them it was time for her to return to her people. She reunited with her people and told them her story. She shared with them the ways of the wolves and how they had saved her from starving through the winter months. She shared with them the ways of the wolves, their skill of stalking, stealth, and hunting. Upon hearing this, Chief said, "The wolves have much to teach us. Whenever our people hunt an animal, they can hunt for others, and not just themselves. Everyone in the tribe will benefit. Children, widows, and elders will always have food to eat." And so it was that the Lakota have always practiced sharing among people from band to band and generation to generation. The experiences the maiden had with the wolves and the teachings and the lessons she gained and shared with her people offered a way for those who could not hunt for themselves to be fed.
I'm going to.
Hello. Okay. So today I will be teaching you all about not only Greek mythology, but Hades. Now, Hades has gotten a bad rep over the years. When people hear king of the underworld, they think of or see Satan, the devil, Lucifer. But the thing is, Hades has done nothing, and I mean nothing, to deserve his bad reputation. Yeah, sure, he kidnapped his wife Persephone, but that was ancient Greece, where kidnapping your wife was common, hence Zeus. But of all accounts, their relationship is quite remarkable. They do love each other very much. And Hades has also helped people. For example, he has helped Orpheus reunite with his dead wife. Orpheus didn't listen to Hades, and no, it wasn't Hades' fault that the kid did the one thing he told him not to do. And that's to not get his wife until they reached the world of the living. Now, next is Hades' pet, who guards the gate of the underworld, whose name is Cerberus. Cerberus also means spotted. The big dork named his dog Spot. You gotta love him. Fun fact about Cerberus is that he doesn't allow anyone to leave the underworld unless you give him a honey cake, rub his belly, or sing him a lullaby. There are only 2 people that Hades has screwed over. And believe me, they deserved it. So you all heard of I'm sorry, Theseus, right? Famous for killing the Minotaur, who tortured everyone. But you never heard of his bro, Perseus. I'm sorry, I probably pronounced his name wrong. And that's because he's only known for this one myth. Now, Perseus and Theseus are egotistical Greek heroes who, like lifting weights, drinking protein shakes, flaunting around women, the typical jock. So one day, while working out, Perseus had a great idea. Perseus, hey bro, you know how we're so good at being heroes? Theseus, yeah? What about it, bro? Well, I was thinking, we both deserve to marry a daughter of Zeus. Theseus, bro, that's a great idea! So Theseus decided on Helen of Troy, who at the time was only 12 years old. Of course, it wouldn't be appropriate for Theseus to marry a 12-year-old. So his best bro had another great idea. Bro, why don't you just wait till she's 20? That way you can marry her. Theseus, dude, you are a genius. As disgusting as that is, Theseus asks Perseus, so bro, who are you thinking about marrying? One of the Graces, who is one of the most beautiful of goddesses and one of Zeus's favorite daughters. Perseus, nah bro, you're thinking too small. I'm gonna marry the queen of the underworld herself. Hades' wife, Persephone. Theseus, yeah, bro, let's go. Take notes, everyone. Friends do not let their friends kidnap goddesses. So the boys scooch on down to the underworld, and come across a very livid Hades, who heard everything. But, like the good host he is, offered them a seat at his dinner table. And they're stupid enough to do it, to sit down. Might as well get to know your husband-in-law before you kidnap his wife and marry her. Perseus, dude, we're so slick. Theseus, he doesn't expect a thing, dude. Hades says, you two do realize that I heard your whole entire plan to kidnap my wife. Theseus and Perseus, uh-oh, we messed up. Hades, yeah, yes you did. Hades summoned a group of snakes from the ground and fused them to their chairs. Hades then sicked the Furies on them, for more torture, just for the heck of it, and call it a night. So in conclusion, Perseus ends up stuck to his chair for all eternity, while our dear Theseus got out thanks to Hercules, or Hercules, whichever you want to go with, because Hades had no problem with Theseus. Let that be a lesson to, I'm sorry. Yes, let that be a lesson to each and every one of you. Hayes can be your best of friend, greatest of friend, have your back. Just don't threaten his family or make him look like a fool. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Prink, church member, and today I'm going to read the story of the starfish. A young girl was walking along a beach, a pond which thousands of starfish had been washed up during a terrible storm. When she came to each starfish, she would pick it up.
I think you're getting feedback.
Throwing the starfish back into the ocean. People watched with amusement. She had been doing this for some time when a man approached her and said, "Little girl, why are you doing this? Look at this beach. You can't save all these starfish. You can't begin to make a difference." The little girl seemed crushed, suddenly defeated. But after a few moments, she bent down, picked up another starfish, and hurled it as far into the ocean as she could. Then she looked up at the man and replied, "I made a difference to that one."
'50s. Very few people flew anywhere. We all jammed ourselves into the family car and took off. For us, that was my parents in the front seat, the three of us kids in the back seat, and our ever-present 80-pound dog. Of course, there was no air conditioning in cars either, so it was an amazing trip. The way we did it, it took 2 days. We could have done it in one, but we never did. And so it was 2 days in the back seat with the 80-pound dog, who we loved, but not in the back seat so much. My grandfather leased part of an island in very northern Minnesota. We were about 20 miles from Canada. He had a very rustic cabin, which meant no running water, no indoor plumbing, no electricity, nothing of modern conveniences, no radio. It was very rustic. Every year, my parents asked us if we wanted to return to the same place for vacation, and we always jumped with joy at the thought of going, even though it meant all of those unusual things. I was 5 the first time we went and did not know how to swim. When it came time for bath time, that was in the lake, down the big hill. Step out on the rocks and hope you don't slide and learn to swim, which is how I did, and how I learned to wash my hair in the lake. And I had long hair then too, much longer actually. After a few days of beautiful peace and serenity, I noticed that there was a canoe of Indians going past the island where we were. And I was kind of surprised and yelled out to my grandfather, "Look, there's Indians." And he said yes, that they lived on the island that was just across from us, which was a long ways, but you could definitely see it and the outline of it and everything. It was sort of between where we were and the mainland. And I was just really surprised to see the Indians, and it sparked lots of play when we were younger. I asked my grandfather about them, and he didn't have very much to say other than he had been in a special ceremony with them, and they had given him a peace pipe. And I asked him all kinds of questions, and he never answered, and now they're lost to sands of time, I guess. After about 5 or 6 years, the Indians disappeared. And we asked someone where they'd gone, what had happened. And they had been given rights to be on the island there. Indian Island was the one right across from us. And they could stay there as long as there was a direct relative from the chief who had saved a white man's life when his boat tipped over. But all of the direct descendants had passed away. So the Indians were gone. They honored their contract with the people, the white people. And I was sad they were gone because it was so peaceful watching them go by. And as I've talked with my siblings about this, none of us ever heard a sound when they were canoeing past or from the island. And when you're on water or near water, sounds travel amazingly well. Never traveled, we never heard them. All three of us agreed that never heard a sound coming from that island. Well, after a couple years of knowing that they weren't coming back, my sister and I and another girl that we'd become friends with decided we were going to go scope out Indian Island and see if they'd left anything behind. So we got in her brother's canoe, the other girl, and paddled over to Indian Island, to where they got on and off the island, and it was a great beach. We walked through a little path, and all of a sudden I felt really uneasy. We were not supposed to be there. I just felt it in my soul, but I was the youngest one and very shy, and so I kept my mouth shut. And we walked in further, and the other girl found something on the ground and picked it up and stuffed it in her pocket. And they were starting to go someplace else, and I turned around to go back to the canoe when I saw what I knew, I don't know how I knew, but I did, were little burial huts. And I said, we have to go. This isn't right. This is sacred ground. And my sister said, oh, they're too small to be, like an adult burial. And I said, well, maybe they're baby burials, but we're not supposed to be here. We have to go. And I think it was the time I really learned about sacred spaces, because that island was a sacred space and we were not supposed to be there. I'm getting the shivers thinking about it, actually. So we left, and the other girl threw back the piece that she had picked up. And that was kind of the end of that, but it was a passage for me, because I think although my parents had taught tolerance, I really learned about sacred and silence and respecting other people's cultures. As I did some reading and online learning from a group that I belong to, I very happily discovered that in the last couple of years, the Indian tribe bought the island, and it now is theirs. And those were indeed burial huts that I saw. There were approximately 39 people buried on the island. And when the lake and the land was all Indian, they lived on the mainland and buried their dead on Indian Island, what became Indian Island. So it was a real learning experience. Watching them silently paddle by was a passage, and being where I didn't belong was another sort of passage. Thank you.